When it comes to government regulations, a lot of times people will say things like, it's the government this, it's the government that, and they don't necessarily know all the rules and regulations. We make these blanket statements. I want to actually first start off with Ghana immigration, because one of the things that people often talk about when they want to come to Ghana is how they can first enter the country and then how they can stay in the country, and citizenship, residency, those are all things that people often ask about. So if you can answer perhaps the first question that I have is, if somebody's from the diaspora and they've never been to Ghana, what is the first step that they need to make when they decide they want to make a move to Ghana?
Thank you. If you are outside the country and you want to come to Ghana, in the first place, the first question is, how do I obtain my visa to come to Ghana? Depending on your location, we have Ghana missions scattered all over the continent, the world. You can apply for your visa if your city is closer to any of our missions. This is sometimes done online, or sometimes you go to the mission in person and you'll be issued with your visa. There are requirements you need to fulfill. As usual, you need to provide certain information, your purpose for coming to Ghana, your personal details, addresses, and other information that may be required of you. When you are able to do that, your application will be processed and you'll be issued with a visa. And then that enables you to travel to Ghana. On the other hand, if your location is far away from the Ghana mission, then there is another option for you. You can contact somebody in Ghana here. If you have a host here, then your host can apply for the emergency entry visa or visa on arrival on your behalf. And this has also got its own requirements. You provide your information to this host, who is a sort of a guarantor, who is going to sign your application. And after the visa is issued, this host will now send the visa to you, because you require what we call pre-boarding requirement by the airlines. The airlines are going to ask you, where is your visa to Ghana? So you have to show that as an evidence, then you'll be able to come to Ghana. Quickly, let me address this, which I read on your program. Somebody asked, there was this dispensation of from 1st December up to 15th January, there wouldn't be any pre-boarding requirement. Yes, that was a dispensation granted. So from 1st December 2023 till 15th of January 2024, you can board any airline to Ghana. And when you arrive at the airport, you'll be issued with a visa and you pay a fee of $150. After 15th, you will need to go through the normal procedures of applying for your visa at the Ghana missions or at the Ghana immigration head office through a host. Thank you.
I want to follow up with that because with that announcement being made, and a lot of people have been taking advantage of it, one thing that people have been asking was, will that allow them to come and go during that period when the visa on arrival is open until the 15th of this month?
Thank you. Within that period, anytime you come in, you can go out. And when you are coming back, remember, you still pay for a visa. There is another facility in place of that. When you enter, you are issued with a 30-day visa to stay. Now, you will want to travel maybe to a nearby country or to wherever you came from, and then you will be coming back to Ghana again. You can now go to the immigration headquarters, apply for what we call re-entry visa. In this wise, when this is issued to you and you go out, when you are coming back, you don't require any visa again, and you don't pay for any visa at the airport or at the entry point again, because you already have your re-entry visa and you'll be able to come in.
That re-entry visa, is that something that is always available? Because I remember in 2019 there was somebody who came and she traveled to Nigeria, and she was an American, and so now that she was in Nigeria and wanted to come back to Ghana, she was being refused boarding because she didn't get a multiple entry visa. So this re-entry, is that something that people can do anytime or is it only now?
Anytime you are in Ghana and you want to travel out and come back again, that is the facility you can apply for. You have single re-entry visa, multiple re-entry. Usually, the businessmen who travel often, the frequent flyers, they always apply for multiple re-entry visas so that it will enable them to fly in and out as often as they want to do within a certain period of time. That is within 6 months. Single re-entry visa means that when you go out and you come back once, it is single. It means you cannot use it any longer. It's the same way as the visas you apply in our missions. You can apply for a multiple entry visa or a single entry visa. Let me use the US as an example. The US will grant you 5 years multiple visa. Ghana also grants same. And it doesn't mean that when you have 5 years multiple visa and you enter Ghana, you can continue to stay in Ghana for 5 years. It is the same way you can't continue to stay in the US for 5 years because you have a 5 years multiple visa. When you arrive at the airport, the immigration officer, upon interrogation, upon questioning, and your discussion, will know how long you actually want to stay, and you are entitled to 60 days maximum, 30 days minimum. After which, if you intended to stay for a year or more, then you apply for what we call residence permit, depending on what you are doing, your purpose of stay. Or you can further ask for extension of your visitor's permit. Imagine you entered and you were granted 30 days or 60 days and you exhaust these days. You can apply for an extension of those days. You can apply for 90 days extension or even 6 months extension of your visitor's permit to stay in Ghana. You have three chances: first extension, second extension, and a final extension. After final extension, if you have any intention, you either apply for a resident permit or work permit to stay in Ghana, or you leave the country and then come back later on.
Thank you. I've learned some information today myself. So once they decide that they want to do residency, is that something that is an expensive process?
Thank you. That would depend on the purpose of your stay. Now, somebody is in Ghana only to school. So, students, so we'll talk about students' permit. So, your institution will grant you the admission letter, and then you will use your admission letter as an evidence to the immigration office, evidence that you have paid your school fees to school in Ghana, or you are on scholarship. You show evidence, and then you will go through the necessary administrative formalities by completing application forms, and you will be issued with a student permit of either 1 year or 2 years, depending on how long your course is going to take you. Now, aside students permit, we have what we call dependent permit. Now, we have people who have come to Ghana and they are married to Ghanaians. Actually, marriages are investigated because people do what we call marriage of convenience just for documentation purposes. So we investigate actually to be sure this is a genuine marriage, and then we'll issue a permit to the dependent. It's either side, either the man or the woman will issue a dependent permit. On the other hand, maybe it's a man. He will say, "No, I can't stay in Ghana as a dependent on my wife. I will want to work." So, in that sense, there is what we call work permit, which will also be issued to the husband or the wife to enable the person to stay in Ghana and work. Children are also issued with dependent permit as well. Then, an individual, especially in the case of diaspora, who have come to Ghana. Sometimes an individual has retired from the US, from the Caribbean, anywhere, and then decide, I want to settle in Ghana. I'm an African. So when he comes, what we do usually, they go through the office of the president, the diasporan unit in the office of the president. They come to us with introductory letters from the office of the president, and then they complete our forms, and then we grant them permit to resettle in Ghana. They depend on their retirement benefits. So such categories, we grant them permit to stay. And there are diasporans who have set up their businesses in Ghana. I have a friend who came all the way from Jamaica, and he has a business in around Osu. So he used his business documentation, apply for a work permit, and then he's Ghana doing his business. Others too have huge capital. So you register your business, you go to Ghana Investment Promotion Center, who also have their requirements. You fulfill their requirements, then they will issue to you a document which we refer to as a quota, which enables you, depending on the amount of money you've contributed. I don't want to make any error. The GIPC expert is here, so he will speak to that. And then they will issue you with that, which enables you to employ an expatriate. If you are an expatriate yourself, you want to bring additional experts to come and work in Ghana, depending on their requirements. Immigration will take that letter from you from the investment center and then will issue you the required permit to work in Ghana. In all cases, we are a security institutions and we do a lot of checks, background checks, to ensure that we are not admitting or granting permits to terrorists or people who are of security threats to our country.
Great, thank you. You've been very thorough. In your role as the head of international relations, are you involved in some of the processes of people when they come and do their applications?
Thank you. Usually, my office facilitates the diasporans permit, but in my office we don't process permit. But usually, our relations with the diasporan affairs, our relations with the Ghana Tourist Authority, they usually issue letters, and when such letters comes, we detail officers from international relations to assist them in getting their permits done. But they are processing departments where you go, you pay the required fee, and then they process it for you.